a good job of welcoming them in and getting them up to speed. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds good. I just hit record, so we're officially started.
Great. Well, as some of you may know, I'm Jesse Johnson. I am a equine facilitator of leadership. So I work with systems of people who are hopefully up-leveling their social regulation, their social coherence as leaders in order to have higher integrity systems. And I have a background as a licensed counselor in somatic therapy, and I'm joined by my colleague Shelby.
So sweet to be with somebody else who is also trained in somatic psychotherapy. I am now operating as a coach with that background as well, and super trauma awareness advocate in everything I do, and mindfulness facilitator. So this is right up my alley today, coming into our bodies, being aware of trauma, and learning how to bring presence even when we want to jump to the future or run to the past because things are pretty intense or overwhelming.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being a part of this. It's been an honor to get to know you professionally, and it's exciting. This is our first time actually collaborating on something that we're making up. So maybe it's the start of some more.
Yeah.
And I just had a thought that maybe we could, possibly post this video as well afterwards for folks too. So I'm just going to speak from that context as well. I would like to start with a concise summary of what inspired me to put this call together. And it started with the two mass shootings that happened while I was in Brighton Bush, actually, with my son this weekend, and got home, and Clara, my partner, said, have you checked the news? And my heart sort of sank and my nervous system got a little activated. And over the course of the next day, I was also in a position where Clara and I were getting our school supplies ready because our kiddo is a kindergartner as of yesterday. And part of what the administration requests as new parents is a letter in an emergency packet. They require a letter from kids' families that is essentially if stuff goes down, including out here in Portland, it's partially about earthquake safety, but also we are now at a place where our systems are so vigilant to the violence that's happening that they have built this into the structure. And so I was sitting at my dining room table on Tuesday writing out this letter to my son, imagining what would I say if this was the last thing he ever read or a teacher read to him. Holy cow. And the tears were flowing. And what came to me was, I have to do more than say words here for the sake of him and his generation and everything that's happening in the world. And this concept that I work on with the horses is centered around social coherence. And social coherence is this beautiful concept that essentially describes a co-regulated society where any system of beings, animals and humans alike, are actually in sync with their own nervous systems and each other's nervous systems. It doesn't mean that we are perfectly in breath or lockstep or any of that. It simply means that when we're coherent with ourselves, our nervous system is coherent with our digestive system, which is coherent with our cardiovascular system, and so forth. And in a moment, I'm going to introduce a simple breathing technique that can invite your own sense of internal coherence. And my hope is with this practice that we can actually experience it together. So what I'd love to do is actually stop there and turn it over to Shelby, who is a master and a pro at setting practices like this. And then I will come back to the coherence piece. Mm-hmm. So we're bringing coherence into co-regulation, which is two systems helping each other become regulated, which starts with self-regulation, which is a practice that Shelby and I are going to support today.
Yeah. I love that word, coherence. And even just hearing that kind of, I notice my own system wants to find a coherence, because, you know, talking about trauma or violence, there's naturally, for me, an activation, kind of a lot of energy shows up. And for others, there's it's kind of like a deadening or a numbness. And when we start to talk about these concepts of coherence, there's the part of us that just naturally wants to move towards feeling more resourced and connected. And so to kick that off, what I'd love to start out by just offering is first an orienting practice. And this helps us begin to come into coherence with ourselves and to self-regulation. So if you're able, in the space that you're in right now, you can just begin by taking a few full breaths in any way that you want. And I'll do that with you. And on those exhales, see if you can soften your body a bit, anywhere that feels tight or tense. And one more big full breath. The inhales bring us into this moment even further. And then you can begin to allow your eyes to wander around your space, your room, whether you're inside or outside. And instead of looking out, what you're going to do as you move your entire head and neck up, down, all around really slowly, is you'll receive the things that kind of pull your attention towards it, instead of coming out of yourself to grab it with your attention. So we're orienting, we're allowing our eyes to help us notice where we are right here, right now, in this present moment. And whether you've been here 1,000 times before or it's your first time, see if you can experience this place with fresh eyes, as though you're seeing it for the very first time. And notice if there are 3 things in your space that feel pleasant to look at, that maybe bring you some sense of ease, or maybe just don't upset you in some way. It could be just something that's more neutral. And you can name those out loud if that's possible in your space. And what I'll have you do is you can just rest your eyes somewhere that they can be relaxed, on the floor in front of you, or if you feel comfortable, you can have your eyes closed. You can play with it and see what brings you closer to yourself in this present moment. And then you can see if you might like to place a hand on the heart or a hand on the belly. If not, you can just allow your hands to rest wherever they want. And notice what it's like to have your hands just here with you in this moment, as though they were loving presence itself, kind presence, witnessing anything at all that you're experiencing, any emotions, any sensations, any thoughts. And the presence of these hands, they're welcoming. Welcome everything. We're not trying to change anything in this moment or fix it. We're just adding an extra layer of care, of kind awareness. And letting your breath be completely natural now, however it wants to be. We'll spend the next 3 to 5 breaths doing what we did in the beginning. Just notice if there are any place in your body that would like to melt or soften. And with each exhale, you can sink, soften, melt into the support of the earth. And if it's hard to connect with this, if everything is happening except for melting, it's just information. We don't need to change it. We don't need to fix it. We're just learning about our systems, our bodies. And you can keep your hands where they are. You can allow them to drop and rest if they're not there already. And Jessie will guide us from this place into the next practice.
So continuing as you are with what feels nourishing. If it feels accessible to you, I'd like you to imagine with each inhale, bringing white light into your heart. And your heart and all its cells filling up with the love you're receiving. Your cells are physically juiced with goodness. And if you're inspired to, on the exhale, I'd like you to think of someone in your world who could use a little bit of that juice right now. Could be someone you know, could be someone you know of. On the exhale, just imagine from your heart to theirs, a beam of white light connecting with their heart. Imagine their system coming into sync with yours. And if you can get there, invite yourself to imagine what they look like in this state. What's their facial expression? What's their body posture? Perhaps you can intuit their emotional state even. Keep sending that light into their heart. And if you want to take it one step further, sending them a clear and intentional wish for how they can impact the world today. And take the next 3 to 5 breaths to find some resolution with that wish and intention. Start to focus a little more on the inhale. Each inhale, pulling that white light back into your own heart, back into the space that we're sharing together. See if you can have some light awareness of all of us together in this time and place with a shared intention to radiate all good things into the world. Perhaps this is a taste of social coherence. And the final thing I'll invite is for you to ask yourself, how can I bring this into my world today? After this call ends, I will go back into my life. What's the one piece of this that feels tangible, that I can carry with me? Perhaps even feels exciting to bring to my next endeavor. And I'll just end my piece today, and then Shelby, you're welcome to say some words if you'd like to before we sign off, by thanking anybody who's here in this moment. And perhaps if you're taking this in, thank you for the work you're doing to create coherence in the world. It matters.
And so as you're in this place, wherever you're finding yourself in this moment, if you're feeling like connected, that's wonderful. And if you get lost in the feelings of aloneness or helplessness, or I don't know what to do, especially in the face of these big events throughout the world, I just wanted to offer one last tiny practice that I find brings a lot of ease for me. And it's just the phrase, others feel this too. And so as you're noticing your present moment experience, as we've gone through this practice, you might just drop that in and see what happens in your body. And when you say silently or out loud to yourself, others feel this too. We can get so lost not knowing what to do or how to feel. Some of us shut down, some of us get angry, some of us distract, avoid. We have so many ways we can respond. And there are so many other people in the world who are doing it very similarly. And so however you're responding, it makes perfect sense. So know that you're not alone and that we are also here with you, whether or not we're live on a call or just holding you in our hearts. Thank you so much for your presence and for showing up today and doing the deep work that you're doing in the world, whether it's in your career, your family, your friends. Thank you.
So we'll end it there. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you'll come again.
Have a beautiful day or evening.
Or morning.